Hey guys, Technomentary with a video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be comparing the iPhone 13 Pro here with the iPhone 7 in a head-to-head comparison where you take a look at the hardware, the software, and overall build and of course the performance of these two phones in 2021. But before we dive into today's video, if you guys are new to the channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways, so make sure that like and subscribe button. Also, if you guys are in the market for one of these devices at a discounted price, make sure you guys check out the links in the description section. So let's go ahead and talk about these two phones. Well, the iPhone 7 first here was released back in 2016. So it's been 5 years since the release of the iPhone 7 here, and we weren't quite sure if it was going to get the latest version of update, but it actually does here. You can update to iOS 15, take advantage of all of that and much more for it. Well, on the other hand, the iPhone 13 Pro was just recently released, and between these two devices, there's going to be a big factor in terms of price. The iPhone 7 you can pretty much get for around $100 or so now, pre-owned if you get it. If you look for a new, probably $150 or so. It's a really cheap phone compared to the 13 Pro, which is a $999 at the base model plus tax as well. So you have two big differences in terms of the price point of both of these two phones. Other thing to consider is going to be the color choices that comes in. So the iPhone, both of the phones come in the basic colors like your silver, gold, and graphite or black, what on the iPhone 7 used to be known as. But between them, the special color is that on the 7 you can get this rose gold color, and on the 13 Pro here, you get that Sierra blue color. So taking a look at these two phones, if you look at physically, you'll notice that the 7 had the home button and the top notch. Again, that are the vintage design in the past, where the 13 Pro now with like all iPhones, you have full screen display here. You have that notch again, which has been smaller. So it's a full body screen here. Side by side comparison, you also know those rounded bezel versus flat on the 13 Pro here, and of course vastly on the back screen you'll notice here that iPhone wording and the logo and that single 12 megapixel camera versus those big triple 12 megapixel camera on the iPhone 13 Pro. So as you can see here, close up, huge camera, and then there's also that LiDAR as well here. So between these two phones, a lot has changed. The back glass on the 13 Pro is a glass here like the front. On the 7 here, it's just aluminum body here to it. On the 13 Pro is surgical grade aluminum body, which stainless steel body, which simply means really durable glass build and body to it, of course. The other thing to note is that wireless charging, you're not able to charge the iPhone 7 wirelessly. On the 13 Pro, you do have that capability because of that back glass, but do be worried that because this is a back glass here, like with any glass, it can shatter if it falls at the wrong angle here. And the front here we mentioned is going to be slightly different in terms of the display here, just not the size, the actual technology between these two devices here. What kind of technology difference between these? Well, there's a couple differences in terms of the actual display here. You have the iPhone 7, which is a 4.7 Retina display with IPS technology, 1334 by 750 pixel resolution at 326 ppi and a 1400 to 1 contrast ratio and a max brightness of 625. So not too bright here compared to the iPhone 13 Pro here, which has a massive 6.1 inch all-screen OLED display, and that's Super Retina XDR display. You have ProMotion for the very first time with 120 hertz refresh rate compared to 60 refresh rate, what used to be the cap up to iPhone 12 here. And you have other things like, of course, improved pixel resolution, almost double the resolution than the iPhone 7. You have of 2532 by 1170 pixel resolution at 460 ppi. You also have this 2 million to 1 contrast ratio compared to that 1400 to 1 contrast ratio on the iPhone 7 here, and a whopping massive 1000 nit of max brightness compared to that 625 max brightness on the iPhone 7 here. Again, huge improvements in terms of the display here. Now let's move on to the next feature, which is going to be the battery. The battery on the iPhone 7, again, it's okay battery, no means by that. If you're looking at the battery on the iPhone 13 Pro here, which is around close to 3100 mAh battery. Now you want to when you talk about the battery, talk about the actual video playback. You get about 13 hours of video playback on the iPhone 7 compared to on the 13 Pro, you get 22 hours, which Apple claims the 13 Pro to be an all-day battery, which again is for the most part true if you're a medium user, which means you use the phone throughout the day here and there, not a heavy user. If you're not glued to it, you can pretty much go through the whole day on a full single charge here. So now let's finally talk about the actual chip on these devices. Now that's going to be really important if you're a person that likes to make sure that your phone are fast. What kind of speed are you going to be getting on these devices? Well, a couple things when it comes to speed. The first thing, it's going to be that you have a 5-year-old phone versus a phone that just came out. Of course, things have changed. The iPhone 7 just has that A10 Fusion chip compared to the 13 Pro here, which has, of course, 5 years later, five generation improved chip, A15 Bionic chip with 6 cores of CPU, 5 cores of GPU, 16 core Neural engine, and Apple claims the iPhone 13 Pro to have the fastest chip on any smart device out there on the market here, or any smartphone. So fast, powerful versus a 5-year-old phone. If you get that, you're not going to get the same amount of performance. Now, the other thing we want to talk about slightly is going to be the camera. So the iPhone 7 here, again, okay camera. You're able to take HDR photos. You can record in 4K, and you have the typical square panel, all of that going. So if you're not really too concerned with your just having a decent camera, again, iPhone grade camera, and it does record up to 4K. It's an okay camera. Nothing nowhere near compared to those 12 megapixel camera. When it comes to photography, you're probably going to be looking at something with like the Pro lineup, which has 4K at 60 frames per second. You have this new cinematic feature, and you have things like portrait mode, which isn't available on the iPhone 7, and a lot going for it. We don't need to go into the details. Basically, iPhone 13 Pro just crushes in terms of feature for the camera here. You have a night mode and Apple Pro RAW as well. Those are some of those bigger premium feature that comes with the 13 lineup on the iPhone 13 Pro here, and in other Pro models as well. Now let's talk about why you might be getting the iPhone 7 here. Probably the biggest thing, again, we mentioned with the 5-year-old phone, it's going to be budget. So if you're not really looking to spend a lot of money but want a phone that supports the latest version of iOS 15 and still a relevant phone, it gets you through your basic calling, texting, and messaging, browsing, just using your apps that you need to get the job done, and that has still that home button, which proven to be really useful nowadays, and that top notch, of course, here, and just a small, slim or phone, light as well, so around 66 grams lighter than the 13 Pro. That's probably the reasons why you would choose iPhone 7. So 5-year-old phone probably has about another year or so left. Maybe might get iOS 16. It's still a toss-up here. We're really not sure. We were really impressed when the 6S and the 6S Plus and the first generation of SE actually got iOS 15. So it might actually get iOS 16, but who knows? Again, it's another probably a beginner, maybe for someone that's not going to be heavily using it, maybe a child or a backup device. The iPhone 7 is a great choice. The 13 Pro, on the other hand, is going to be a phone that came out. Of course, iOS 15 is what it was built on. So all of that feature comes in. You have those performance that we mentioned just out the roof. You have almost 3.4 better performance in some of those Antutu benchmark tests we did. You have 6 gigs of RAM versus 2 gigs of RAM on the 7. So when it comes to gaming wise, you're probably going to be looking at the 13 Pro to get a device that can play games that are meant to be played on the console. You have cameras that has 3 times the optical zoom. You have that 128 refresh rate. You have that 1.7 inch larger screen, and of course a bigger battery, around 3100 versus close to like a 1900 mAh battery, and of course longer battery because of that bigger battery means 39% or longer battery life in some of the durability tests that we have done on it. And of course pixel density, because of that OLED display, you have 41% higher pixel density support, and compatibility for Wi-Fi 6 as well. You have a newer version of Bluetooth version 5 that it supports, and of course it supports the 20-watt fast charging, which again isn't possible on the iPhone 7 here. So overall, in terms of specs, camera, display, in every department, the one thing of course is the price is probably going to get you that $1,000 versus $100 phone 10 times more. Are you willing to pay it for the durability and those features? That's something we'll let you guys decide. And upgrading from the 7 to 13 Pro, it's a no-brainer. Of course, the upgrade is definitely worth it, but can you dish out $1,000 versus dishing out a $700 for your purpose? That's something you can only just justify. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We want to hear from you guys. What your thoughts are on using either of these phones, if you guys used it, or upgrading from one to another. Leave a comment in the comment section. And if this video is helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.